First Phosphate is a mineral and clean tech development company focused on building and onshoring a vertically integrated mine-to-market LFP battery supply chain for North America. The company recently produced commercial-grade LFP battery cells using high-purity phosphoric acid produced from igneous anorthosite rock from its own Bégin-Lamarche phosphate project in the Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean region of Quebec. CEO John Passalacqua is here to review the company's unique strategy, its assets, technology, and the numerous upcoming catalysts and opportunities. I'm Martin Gagel with Market Radius Research. Please remember, this is neither a recommendation nor investment advice. We're here to learn about the company. John, welcome back. It's been almost 3 years since we last talked. You've done a lot on the project and was first Phosphate. Since that time, I'd love to hear where you're at and everything you've done and what we're going to be seeing in the near term from you guys.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Martin. Thanks for having us again. So I'll just go through the slide deck really quickly, and then I can take some questions and update on where we've been. But basically, the most important thing to remember is that first phosphate is igneous phosphate, which is very different than sedimentary phosphate. This phosphate is extremely pure, and it's meant just for the battery industry because almost 100% of it converts directly into the purified phosphoric acid that goes into LFP batteries. As you know, LFP batteries are now, between 60 and 80% of all batteries produced on the planet. They've taken over from all the other battery chemistries, and as you can see from the direction here of the charts, it's projected to be the battery chemistry for the world. The reason for this is that LFP is more than just EVs. EVs is only 5 to 7% of the LFP market. The LFP market is many other things, like especially stationary energy storage, battery walls, small devices like drones, data center batteries, batteries for small scale mobility, and excuse me, and a number of other uses. It's not just EVs. And also public transportation is a big use for LFP battery as well. If we look at this next, the reason that purified phosphoric acid and the ability to make a lot of it is important is because it's the second most important element in electrification after copper, not something that people know too often. And the other thing is, if we're moving towards LFP battery, then what happens to all the lithium? The lithium basically remains landlocked unless you got the phosphate to be able to make the difference. Benchmark Minerals was projecting that 33 new purified phosphoric acid plants are needed between now and 2030 to cater to the amount of LFP battery that will be needed. Well, in the last 70 years, the Western world has only been able to produce 5 of these plants, and most of these plants run off of fertilizer plants, and they just take the cream of the crop of the phosphoric acid and convert that into purified phosphoric acid. So they're running on top of fertilizer plants. There's only so much expansion that can be done. If you look at here at the pale blue line, the amount of purified phosphoric acid seems to remain constant at 2045. The uses for it are increasing, which is the deep blue, but yet with the LFP battery, they're predicting that we'll need double of it. Well, in fact, if you follow what Benchmark is saying here, it's really going to be 8 times, so it really goes up like this. So we need a way to create a lot of purified phosphoric acid without going through the fertilizer or agricultural world war. How do you do that? Well, it's really in the beauty of this rock. It's the igneous anorthosite rock from Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, Quebec, that basically yields, almost 100% purified phosphoric acid when you use it. And you see it right here, right? Igneous phosphate rock purifies very nicely. The gypsum left over can be used in modular construction because it's so clean. It's not a slag, and we make a lot of battery acid for LFP batteries. Whereas with sedimentary rock, if you look at sedimentary rock, most of that can only be converted into agricultural-based phosphate. And there's big slag piles, which are big issues. There's about 100 of these slag piles in southeastern United States because of it. And it only makes a little bit of LFP battery type acid, a lot of fertilizer acid. So igneous phosphate rock is really the solution to be able to make a lot of purified phosphoric acid, which we're going to need now that LFP batteries have taken off as the battery of choice. When you look at igneous phosphate rock, this is the problem, right? Igneous phosphate rock, igneous anorthosite in Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, Quebec is only 1% of the world's global phosphate reserves. The other 4%, the blue dots that you see here, those are carbonatites. Some of the carbonatites, like you have in Russia, they are mined So we can make a lot of purified phosphoric acid with them, but obviously now with the sanctions, that's an issue. In Africa, a lot of these carbonatites are not accessible. And in Brazil, there are great carbonatites, but they have a lot of rare earths in them. So this phosphate just basically goes into fertilizer production. And then the rest of the world, the red dots that you see is a traditional sedimentary phosphate, which generally is used to make phosphoric acid for the agricultural world. So basically, here, Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, Quebec, igneous and orthosite rock, first phosphate is able to purify it up to, the purest that we've ever seen out of phosphate concentrates in the world. And for this, we're able to make a lot of purified phosphoric acid with it. When we look at our deposit, it's 2.5 kilometers long, it's 300 meters wide, and it's 300 meters deep. It can go down to another kilometer and a half. We just are not exploring down to that level for now. But just with what you see here on screen, we're able to produce enough phosphoric acid to electrify half of the fleet of new vehicles in North America between Mexico, Canada, and the US for the next 23 years. And we've been able already to purify this up to purified phosphoric acid, which this is similar in the lithium world. It would be similar to lithium hydroxide or to lithium carbonate. We've been able to do this purification with our one of our partners, Prayon, which is the world's largest producer of purified phosphoric acid in Europe. So you have a deposit that is deep. It can produce a lot of purified phosphoric acid, and it's already been able to do so with the world's largest producer. And this equates to about 350 gigawatt hours of LFP batteries per annum. And it's an NPV of 2.1 billion, an IRR of 37%, and a payback of 2.9 years. And that's at the current low end of pricing for igneous phosphate rock. When we move up the scale, in the future years, igneous phosphate rock is traded as much as 3 times higher than what it is right now. What's really important about this deposit is that it's just sitting here at 70 kilometers driving distance from Port of Saguenay, 40 kilometers driving distance from the major intermodal station that links to the rest of North America. We're sitting right in the aluminum battery valley of North America, where Rio Tinto makes all of the aluminum. We're at 40 kilometers from Rio Tinto's facilities, meaning that there's a great industrial workforce in this area, great industrial suppliers in the area as well. And we're sitting in a very good logistical position. That's really important because, as you know, a lot of the deposits out there's lots of deposits in Canada, but some of them are so far from any infrastructure that they can never ever be developed. But this is an easy development process because of the links to infrastructure. And here at the Port of Saguenay, we have direct access by vessel, deep sea port to Europe, where we have our off-takers. We already have 25% of the mine fully off-taken, bankable, and 25% of our secondary transformation into phosphoric acid here at the Port of Saguenay, fully off-taken and bankable as well. When you look at our project, there's going to be 3 steps to it. Obviously, at the mine site, crushing and concentrating, making the phosphate concentrate. Then at the Port of Saguenay, turning it into purified phosphoric acid, and then eventually into LFP cathode active material that then goes into batteries and into the EV and large scale energy storage industry. This is something that we're really proud of, and this is really one of the big updates that I wanted to give to everybody today. First Phosphate, and everybody can see it here. Maybe this battery right here that I have in my hands has been able to make the first LFP batteries in North America, made fully from North American critical minerals. Now, we've gone through the 6-step process. We've done this in miniature, but it's been a commercial scale. And when we tested these batteries, they charge and discharge 2,000 times, just like any other battery of commercial grade, which then validates all process and all the minerals that went into making it. So step 1 is we took the igneous and orthosite rock, like I've just been able to show you in Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, Quebec. It was concentrated into high purity phosphate concentrate. With that, with our partners Prayon, we made purified phosphoric acid to spec, the battery grade spec. Then with GK and Höganäs, believe it or not, we took a secondary recovery from our Bégin-Lamarche property. They're the largest atomizer of steel powder in the world out of Tennessee, GKN is. And they made iron powder for us, which we then put together with the phosphate. We made iron phosphate. Then we went down to Century Lithium in Nevada. They provided the lithium carbonate. We made LFP cathode active material. And then from there, with our friends at Nouveau Monde Graphite in Montreal, they provided us with the graphic material. which was then put together to make the LFP batteries. These were the first batteries made perhaps in 25 years in North America out of full North American critical minerals. LFP technology was invented in North America around the year 2000, 2001. It didn't last here more than 12 to 24 months. And then from there, it went over to China and never came back. So this is the first time in 25 years that a company, First Phosphate, has been able to make LFP battery cells fully functional, commercial scale with North American critical minerals, 2 of 4 of which were from our property, Beijing-La-Marche, being the phosphate and the iron. That's an exceptional achievement, especially when we're talking now about, supply chains and the issues between the USA and China. There's the rare earth wars. Also, China has stopped exports not only of rare earths, but also of nano and semiconductor technology. But thirdly, they also said they threatened to stop exports of LFP batteries and LFP battery components. Well, this is what First Phosphate has been doing for the past 3 years very diligently, is landing that supply chain in North America. And this is what we've been able to come up with, something we're very proud of. Okay, we de-risked the project with large partners at the table. We've talked already about some of them. We've got full offtake agreements in place. We've got a collaboration agreement with our Indigenous group, the Pequot Watch, out of Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, Quebec. We've got letters of interest from the Quebec government, from Exim Bank, and we have a number of large-scale and local and international partners at the table to make this project work. We're a management team that meets and beats milestones. I think you remember, you said we hadn't been back here in 3 years, right, Martin? We were just starting to explore back then. And now look what we've done. We've got a deposit. We're now we've done the first major scale exploration of it. We did our 43-101 mineral resource estimate. We did our PEA, and now we're in the process of doing a 30,000 meter drill program. Like, that's a massive drill program, but it's going to be the last one that we do. It's going to give us our full block model, and it's going to give us the ability to march into a feasibility study here very shortly. The share structure was something we're very proud of. Very tight share structure. Management and board is 25%. Our family and friends are about another 40%. I could say, honestly, everyone who's put money into this company, I know almost personally, and if not, it's because they're the friend or a mother or a brother of somebody that I know. But we've raised all the money on our own. We've raised $40 million in the past 3 years without an underwriter, without anybody but ourselves and a couple of our family offices around us and a few good brokers. Public float is about 35 million. It's extremely tight. Share price has seen a significant increase here in the last little while because of the China news and the rest of it. And obviously we have a very tight share structure. Our board and our management, we have board and management from very multifaceted. So we have a lot of people from the mining industry, a lot of people from the technology industry, and a lot of people straight in business. And the reason we have that is because we are both a mining company and a technology company, all kind of rolled up in one. I'll just leave you with this now. So the LFP battery, I know we were talking about it. Remember when we said that only about 7.1% of LFP battery is EVs. So forget about EVs when you're thinking about LFP battery, but think of everything else. Think of large scale transportation. Think about telecom towers, military devices, small mobility devices, and think especially about data centers, AI. All of those consume a lot of power. They all need batteries to store and to regulate the currents, to normalize it. And then think about energy storage, both coming off of hydro dams, coming off of solar, wind, and also just in your garage, right? If you've got an electric vehicle. And also, a lot of these energy units in the home now, you don't need natural gas generators anymore. Everything's stored on battery. So that's about it. I think what I'll do is I'll just open up the field to some questions here if anybody has any.
John, thank you very much. I appreciate you ripping through that, covering everything very quickly there. You discussed that you are both a resource company and a technology company. Can you describe and you have a lot of partnerships as well, bringing in other people's technology. Can you talk about the different layers of sort of moats, so to speak, that you have on the company and where your own technology is and where you bring in partnership, either fully their technology or you combine yours and theirs together?
Yeah, perfect, Martin. And so I'm bringing up the screen again of the battery cell, so maybe I can explain that. So step one and step two, that's at the mine site. So we have
Yeah.
obviously access to a massive resource, igneous anorthosite phosphate rock, which is it's very important for electrification. Like I said, all the lithium remains landlocked unless you've got the phosphate to make the LFP battery. So this is really important. This is the mining side. All of this technology is ours. It's standard flotation, solventless recovery. We keep it very clean from an environmental level. That's the rock and making the phosphate concentrate at Bégin-La-Marche. Now, what's really interesting here is that the secondary stage, which is making the purified phosphoric acid, we're not into R&D. We are into commercial technology that's been out there forever. Our partners here, Prayon, they invented the science of making purified phosphoric acid 70 years ago. So we de-risk the entire technology risk because we're using their technology. They've licensed their technology to us to make this in return, for offtake agreements because they also require access to this rock. Now, step three, obviously, again, you've got another very large partner, GK and Höganäs, the world's largest atomizer of steel powder. They have a process for making a steel powder, and they're sending back steel powder from a scrap process that includes our magnetite. But then for making the iron phosphate, we have access to this technology through Ultian. We have access to the technology to make iron phosphate precursor and LFP cathode active material. Why? Because Ultian was one of the first companies in early 2000s that actually was the first ones to commercialize LFP technology, LFP cathode active material technology before it was lost to China. So we have the technology process here together with Ultian. We have an ability to buy that process from them as well. We're kind of working through that at the moment. We're at certain stages in that process, but we have full access to this technology. And then to make the LFP cathode active, the LFP battery cells, that again is Ultian. And Ultian needs a cathode active material from us, and they want to remain focused here on making the batteries. So together with all the partners, as you can see, we get from the mine all the way to the finished battery. Not saying we're going to do it all, but with the partnerships and everybody at the table, we managed to create this fully functional LFP battery supply chain for North America.
Would where along these six steps you would not, let's say, have any value? Would like I guess where would your involvement stop at this point? Would you be involved in, let's say, step five with the cathode active material and then selling that to the final battery manufacturing step? What stage would you sort of hand it off to sort of then be downstream from you?
Yeah, great question, Martin. So number one is definitely us, and
Yes.
number three is definitely us together with the technology from Prayon. And then step four and five, making LFP cathode active material, we would stop at step five. Step four and five would probably be, us on our own or in partnership. But steps one to three are definitely, steps one to two is us on our own. Step three in partnership with Prayon, and step four, five, definitely in partnership. Step six, that would be onto somebody else. We would probably stop at LFP cathode active material.
All right. There's many people are aware of Nano One Technologies. They've got cathode active material technology for production of it. Would they be a competitor or potential partner to you, or just somewhere else in the whole supply chain? Could they potentially be a partner with you?
Yeah, so Nano One is working probably on steps four and five. What they have a process that they're in research and development on right now. I don't know when it will be commercial, but this traditionally, iron phosphate precursor together with lithium makes LFP cathode active material. They're working on a process that would combine these two, step four and five, together, and they're looking at some point to commercialize that. So once they're ready and they have that commercialized, it's certainly a technology that we would look to. But we're not necessarily dependent on that because, like I said, we already have access to the first ever technology made to make FP cathode active material, and the same process that's being used to make over a million or 2 million tons, 1 million to 2 million tons of this stuff already in around the world, mostly in China. So it's the same process that everyone's been using for the past 25 years. There's a number of companies like Nano One trying to invent a new process in this four or five step. So if and when any of them become commercial, we would certainly be willing to look at it. Absolutely, because it would be obviously an easier process and also hopefully environmentally as well. So yeah, we want to see everybody in that range where Nano One is working, coming up with a new and improved process, which we're really willing to look at when the time comes.
All right. With you're doing your final drilling for modeling and then your feasibility study right now. Could you give us in sort of a big picture, like how long to develop the mine and then build out this whole supply chain? How many years do you see that taking on like a reasonable, given
Yeah,
reasonable
so
assumptions?
the supply chain there in miniature has been created. We've done it in small scale commercial. It's worked. That's
Yeah.
incredible because most things are not small scale commercial. We've actually done it in small scale commercial. This is not pilot. This is not bench. These are commercial batteries that were produced. So it's there in miniature. Our mine and purified phosphoric acid plants will be ready by 2029. And the iron phosphate and lithium iron phosphate CAM plant could even start before then, provided that we have already access to partners material, iron and phosphate to do that. It's just a matter of us to sort through our next steps on that. We were going to start that CAM plant this year, but then obviously, all the trade issues that have come up, we've kind of waiting for the Canada U.S. Trade agreement to come into place, and once that comes into place, hopefully we'll be able to make a decision as to where we would locate that plant and what the next steps would be on that. So we hope to have everything in place by 2029. Yeah, on a very aggressive time scale.
Can you talk about, obviously you're going further down the value chain than most mining companies do. Like, and you haven't done your feasibility study yet and all that. So there are a lot of question that there's still a lot of things to be figured out. But can you give any metrics on how like much margin or how your economics would be different than just a traditional mine where you sell out concentrates or you would just sell out the phosphate on its own? Can you give us any parameters on that?
Yeah, so our feasibility study will be ready by the end of 2026. That's what we're targeting. We're almost completely financed to be able to do that. Now, on the mine, there's an NPV of about 2.1 billion, and an IRR of 37%. That's at this lower end of igneous phosphate prices. On the second stage, which is making the purified phosphoric acid, that's quite a lucrative area. There isn't too many companies that are able to do that, and especially not with igneous phosphate rock. We started to work on some of the internal economics on that. They look great. The only thing, obviously, is we're not in 43-101 on that yet, so I don't have anything that I can post to the market. But we have economics which are almost on the same level as the mine, and these plants can run for 50 to 100 years. Like the plant in Belgium that does this has been running for 70 years, and once you get them up and running, they're just cash machines. Also, there's not that much competition on them in the world, especially when they say we need 35 new of these things, and we've only had 7 in the Western world to date. So that's an extreme. Getting into that secondary transformation is a really big thing for the company, really big thing for the country as well. And then the LFP cathode active material, I mean, that's a process that's been going on for 25 years. They've been, it started in North America. It's been in China. The same process has been used. I know that you mentioned some of these newer processes that are looking to make LFP cathode active material, but that traditional process to make it has been in place for 25 years. And that's got a reasonable, decent profit margin on it as well. Again, we're not past a full feasibility study on that and not in production, so I can't really mention it. But yeah, there's 3 full pillars on the company. There's mining, there's phosphoric acid, and then there's LFP cathode active material production.
Do you expect to consume all of your production, or could you just sell some of the mined igneous phosphate to third parties for, I don't know, the fertilizer market or some other uses, and then sell some of the phosphoric acid to third parties? Or do you expect to kind of consume the whole supply chain yourselves? And sorry, and I guess if you have those other options, that gives you a little more optionality on the project in case there's a little weaker or stronger demand somewhere, you can funnel it to the highest value. Can you flesh those different stages where you have value opportunities out?
Yeah, those are very, very good questions, Martin. So what we've done at the mine site, you know, about 30% of the mine is already off taken, and that's a very large European off taker. And the reason we've done that is to make the project bankable. That's bankable offtake that we have. It's secure, it's definitive, and then the rest of what's produced at the mine will then be transported to our phosphoric acid plant for self-consumption. And at the phosphoric acid plant, again, another 35% of that has already been off-taken, again, to a European off-taker, definitive, bankable, and we retain the rest for ourselves. So what that does is it makes both projects bankable, and it gives away a certain amount of our offtake, but not everything. So only about 30% of it is given up. And again, even that 30% that's given up, it's given up at it floats at market prices. So it's not locked in. It doesn't have a price collar, a floor, and a ceiling. It just floats at market price, which is perfect. So it gives us the guarantees of being able to become bankable, and at the same time not to give away too much, and to be able to float with the current market at the time.
Question here from the audience. The government of Canada has announced they want to stockpile critical minerals and they are investing in them. Is First Phosphate expecting an investment, and does the government need to stockpile phosphate?
That's interesting. So I heard that announcement a few days ago. I know that when we are giving a lot of the feedback to the government, which they've now taken. I know that was one of the feedbacks in some of the sessions that I've been in. It was specifically one of my feedbacks that they should start stockpiling minerals in the U.S. and in Canada. I'm glad to see Canada has moved forward with that. I don't know that they'll be stockpiling phosphate. They might need to stockpile igneous phosphate. They might need to stockpile LFP cathode active material. I don't know. It's really new. I think this government has just been formed. They're moving along as quick as they can. So we'll see how that develops. But to tell you the truth, we really don't need it. We don't need the government to stockpile our phosphate, because our phosphate is it'll be amongst the purest produced in the world. And we could sell out the whole thing, tomorrow morning. We could offtake the whole thing tomorrow morning. It's so in demand, because you got to remember when the machinery to make the phosphoric acid runs with this extremely pure phosphate, it runs clean, and it can be blended with other ores that are not so clean. So there's tremendous demand on this. It's like saying, I don't know, every ounce of uranium that's produced, or every ounce of gallium that's produced is going to be used. So there's no real need for us to be stockpiled by any government. If they want to do it, fine. I'm sure we could look at it. But we need that phosphate for ourselves to make purified phosphoric acid and LFP cathode active material. I could see maybe governments, maybe USA, maybe Canada, wanting to stockpile LFP cathode active material for a certain number of months, because got to remember, right? Like all the military equipment in North America for the Canadian and U.S. Armed Forces, all of the stationary energy storage, anything that's got an LFP battery in it. Whoops, you can see it here. All of this is coming from China. None of this is made in North America. Zero. So it's a fundamental Achilles heel of all of these defense apparatus in different countries. They don't make this battery themselves, and they don't even know that they don't make it. That's how bad it is. They don't even know that they don't make this. They'll buy a drone. Oh, it's great. The drone runs. Yeah, it was made in Canada. It was made in the U.S. Okay, it was, but what does that thing need to run? It needs batteries. Where were those batteries made? Oh, I don't know. It just came with a thing. No, well, they came from China, right? So this is really sensitive material here.
Well, and as well, in the sense of, do we need to stockpile something that we have, millions of tons in the ground already? It's sort of stockpiled just underground. So we have plenty of stockpiles there.
We shall see, right? Governments do all kinds of things, wise and or otherwise. So we'll
Yeah,
see
but
what
it's
comes
always
out of
good
it.
to have a buffer of inventory that's readily handy and so forth. So for short-term supply shocks that we all learned too
Yeah,
much
look,
about during COVID.
we're more than ready to work with our government and other friendly governments around the world. So no problem on that if it comes to that.
You've talked about your long-term milestones and expectations. What about in the short term? Let's say for investors that have like a 12-month time frame. You've talked about a feasibility roughly 12 or 13 months from now. Can you give other milestones, what investors should be keeping their eyes on for the coming months and quarters?
Yeah, I mean, look, you've got a company that you accurately mentioned, Martin, was what are the three pillars, and what is the the NPVs and the IRRs at the three pillars. And I said, well, I can only talk to you about when it's the mine, right? Because that's the only one we got the 43-101 out on. But there's another NPV and IRR for the phosphoric acid, and there's another NPV for the CAM production. But if you just look at just our current market price in the market, we trade at like 4 to 5% of the NPV of the mine alone, right? And if we're going to have a feasibility study that's going to be completed here by the end of 2026, permitting hopefully by early 2027, and then we've got major commitments at the table to build this thing out because everybody knows that we need it, and hopefully to be in production by 2029. You start falling back an NPV of that, so that's major news as we start progressing through this this feasibility study. We just launched our 30,000 meter drill campaign. Look for that. Look for us to finish this block model. Our environmentals are progressing. We'll be announcing all of that. Also, we started working our metallurgical sample, our second larger metallurgical sample. We'll be giving information on that in the coming months, and we'll be moving down the road to feasibility study and to permitting here very shortly. There's a number of other very important things obviously going on with the company, especially with everything that's going on around critical minerals, landing the supply chain. Remember, China said we're going to cut off three things in North America: rare earths, nanotechnology, computer chips, and LFP technology. So we're number three, and we're the company that's produced this LFP battery, the first one in 25 years produced out of North American critical minerals in North America. And we've got the whole full supply chain ready to go here in North America. It just needs to be built out. So a lot of exciting news around all of that. Obviously, nothing that I can put out there publicly right now, but stay tuned. First Phosphate is a company that it's been developing on a really accelerated pace here for the past 3 years, and that's not going to stop. We're just going to keep going. We're just getting going, and it's starting to get good now because we've got all the bases in place, and the company's very well respected now worldwide.
You've got a lot of support from the Quebec and the Canadian government. Can you talk about what other kinds of potential support in terms of grants or other potential maybe direct investments or loan guarantees, or what other options or programs are out there that First Phosphate could potentially lever?
I think it's important to notice that First Phosphate has raised $40 million on its own. It has not received a penny from government. A lot of the companies out there, they require government subsidies. They're deep into R&D. We're not into R&D. We're just into building, getting a mine going, using commercial processes that we know work in industry, and getting those up and running and producing. So First Phosphate, it's nice if government comes along and helps First Phosphate, but we haven't had it in the past, nor did we count on it. We just go ahead and we just do our own thing. We think you're always stronger when you can raise in the capital markets, when you got the capital markets supporting you than you are with government. Certainly, yeah, we've applied to numerous government subsidy or government grants and the rest of it programs, just like everybody else. We'll see if something comes along, but that's all just bonus. We don't rely on it.
You mentioned that you have almost enough capital to get you through, I believe it was your feasibility study. Could you talk about, at least, let's say for the next 12 or 18 months, what your capital requirements are and how much of a gap there is between what you have and what you likely need?
Yeah, we've got about 18 to 20 million in the bank right now. That takes us all the way to the end of our feasibility study, Q3, Q4 of 2026, and gets us going into our permitting cycle. So, we don't really need to come to market, tap the market unless it's opportunistic or unless it's with strategic investors. Yeah, so the company's really done a good job here in the last 6 months to raise that $20 million that's required for the feasibility study.
All right. There's a question here from the audience. How many warrants does the company have left outstanding, and what exercise price are they? And could that fill some additional requirements for you?
Yeah, that's actually a good point. So there's about 15 million warrants left at 50 cents. They expire at the end of December. We've seen a strong trickle of that coming in every week. So yeah, that could bring in another potential $7-8 million of capital. I don't know what it will be, and if that happens, yeah, we'll be fully financed through to the end of oh gosh, probably past permitting. But you never count on that. That's just another thing, like I was saying, like government money. It's just bonus if people exercise. We have some more warrants, about another 1.5 million at $1.25. Those expire in April, and then the company's basically warrant free. It's just going to be
Yeah.
just the cap table, debt free, warrant free. And that's the way I like to keep it. Royalty free, debt free. It's going to be warrant free as well. So, we try to keep our cap table as clean as possible here.
And given where your share price is at, it would kind of make economic sense that those warrants get exercised here. So I think the probabilities are that that happens, isn't it?
Yeah, like I said, some of them are just keep trickling in every week, and
Yeah.
it's great. Most people are even just exercising, not even selling, just holding them, which is great.
Yeah.
We've got a really, really strong shareholder base, Martin. We've really gone out. During the last 3 years, it's been Armageddon out there in the capital markets. I mean, the last 6 months, everybody doesn't remember what came before that, but I remember before that how tough it was. So we raised all this capital on our own. We went to friends and family offices, like really good, hard, non-toxic capital. So we got a really good shareholder base that is supporting us, and we've executed, and we maintain a very, very strong relationship with all of our shareholders. I mean, I think I could count on less than a couple fingers those shareholders that might not have been happy over something, but everybody else is really happy and very supportive. And we've raised money from about maybe, I don't know, 200 to 300, 400 people so far, and then everybody else coming into the market. So while I'm on this call, would like to thank shareholders for their support, and let it be known that we are a shareholder focused company, and that's what I do every day. My responsibility is to my shareholders here, doing good by them.
All right. Question here, somewhat broad, but they want to know about the environmental impact assessment during all the steps you talked about. Can you give an outline of those environmental impact assessments?
So for the meantime, it looks like we're just constrained by the Quebec Environmental Impact Study. And so, there's obviously a lot of moving parts to that. There's, water studies, there's mammal studies, there's archaeological studies. There's probably 100 more that I can't even remember, but vegetation studies, four season studies, effects on light, effects on dust, effects on pollution, effects on local municipalities, and it goes on and on and on. But they're a good thing, right? Because we need to have proper mining done. We're right in the middle. We're right at the end of the valley of Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean. We're in between two great towns, municipalities that support us. And so we need to make sure that everything is consistent. And so we're moving through all of that. We've already started on a lot of those studies this past summer. They'll continue through to next year. Yeah, it is what it is. Just got to get it done and keep moving through with good people.
All right, all right. We've covered a lot of territory here, John. You've answered all the questions I had and given what I needed to know. Before we wrap this up, what are your final thoughts and comments to leave viewers with as we wrap this up?
I think you got to look at the team we have. I really pride the company on the team. We've got really super professionals at the table. We are working towards building this project out. This is not like, oh yeah, find some claims, stake them out, and hope somebody will buy you. I don't believe in that. That never happens. We're here to build this project out. We're here to build it properly. We got the team in place to do it. We've got the know-how to do it. And just remember one last thing, right? It used to be NMC batteries. NMC batteries are still out there. They're a very small part of the market now. But for LFP batteries, it's lithium iron phosphate. We know the iron is there, right? Iron powder is out there. We know that lithium's there. There's 300 companies out there that produce lithium or who are working on producing lithium. But how many companies do you have in phosphate, in igneous phosphate that makes all the purified phosphoric acid without having to touch the fertilizer industry? And also that's 100% fully focused and dedicated on phosphate for the LFP battery for North America. We don't touch fertilizer. We want nothing to do with it. We are here for the high technology industry. We got the high technology deposit igneous phosphate, and we got the technology to do it. And we're the most advanced company in all of North America, perhaps in the whole world outside of China, that's mine to market, all the way from the igneous phosphate rock to the production of phosphoric acid, LFP cathode active material, and with partners that get it right to the battery. What is that worth in a world that's, depolarizing, and in a world where, we have to have local supply chains? We've got it here. We're the only company that's focused on that. So if you want exposure to the battery industry and you own a lot of lithium stocks, yeah, hold on to lithium stocks, but always remember what else you're going to need in order to get that lithium to market. And one of the major choke points is going to be phosphate, and that's what First Phosphate's here for. eliminate that.
And I'm just going to add to yours. One of the things that really impresses me about your project, just the location. Like you literally like close to port, close to infrastructure, mining, a jurisdiction that knows how to do mining, and it's just I don't know, it's just ideal location, I would say. So that's great.
Yeah, thank you for that, Martin. Thank you for recognizing that. That is key. Location, location, location. Right. There's been all too long in this country and in mining. There's been this radical idea of the bigger the better the deposit, and it didn't really matter where the deposit was. It could be up in Timbuktu. It doesn't matter as long as it's big, 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 big reserve, big quantity, big this, but never anything gets out of the ground. Well, this is a deposit that is meant to be in that perfect sweet spot, not too big, not too small, but it's meant to get into production because it's sitting in the right area where the infrastructure is, and that's what we looked at when we started to work on this property, and why we chose Bégin-La-Marche. It's got the right grade in the right spot next to existing infrastructure. I don't have to build out a new port. I don't have to build out new roads. The electricity is there. The provincial roads are there. The Port of Saguenay is there. We got great relationships with the municipalities, with the Indigenous community. And we got everything that it takes to make this happen, to get this thing built out properly, and it becomes a net big positive contributor to the local economy.
John, that's, I think, a great place to leave it. So thank you very much. I really appreciate you joining us. Great to see you again. And let's not make it so long until we get you back. Let's get you back for some updates as you move this forward.
That's excellent. Thank you so much, Martin. Really appreciate you and your audience.
All right. Talk to you later. Cheers.
Thanks. Bye-bye.